So underway now in the 64th running of the Women's Open Australian Championship 10-kilometre cross-country event. Field of around 50, which is once again probably one of the bigger fields we've had in many, many years here in Ballarat. So it's good to see that the girls are coming out and competing over this open distance. Once again, Michael, I don't think we're going to see too many moves on that opening 2K lap, but let's see what happens.
Yeah, once again, no incentive for front running here today, but you never know. Flatter course doesn't make it easy, just makes it flat. Will be interesting to see how they navigate the obstacles.
So Bronte Oates has gone early, and she has got Smee going with her. So Ruby's decided she's not going to let Bronte go. Smee's really tough. She's cross country probably more her thing than the road, but she obviously been doing really, really well on the road. She performed quite brilliantly also in the City of the Surf, but Smee's deciding she's not going to give it Bronte her own way.
You'd probably say the same thing about Bronte as well, being more on the endurance side, winning over the City of Surf, having a strong run at Zatopek back in December. Two athletes battling it out whose strength is this real longer endurance cross-country running rather than their turn of speed later on. So maybe they will try and grind it out together in the early stages and not let the people who have a set of wheels on them come over the top of them later in the race. Someone like Jenny Blundell or Jayla Hancock-Cameron, for example.
Now, talking to Bronte pre-race, she's looking out for Georgia Hansen, who's on that comeback trail, and also Ruby. She does respect Ruby immensely, but also she's looking to the Jayla Hancock-Cameron, her New South Wales teammate, as being someone just to watch out for in a race like this. So she's aware that Ruby's good and consistent, and that's what she's thinking about. Ruby, for her part, though, she knows that Bronte is the race favourite. She's also got Georgia Hansen. She's mindful of Georgia's abilities, and she's also mindful of her experience. Plus, Jenny Blundell, as we said, the Olympian, the 1,500-metre Olympian. Jenny Blundell has leg speed, and we saw that in previous races. If you don't want to be near a 1,500-metre specialist, if you're side-by-side 500 metres out. But Bronte Oates now deciding, she's proved me wrong because she is starting to blow it apart a little bit here in that opening lap. Maybe not a bad strategy. Do the front-running thing. She knows she's race favourite. Maybe she's going to make the others think, I'm just running for second, third or fourth.
Yeah, we sort of said there's no incentive for getting out hard, but I guess you got to play to your strengths. And as we've said, that gut running, the running people off their legs would be a strength of Bronte's. So she's only about one kilometre into this race. She's made a decisive mood.
Well, Ruby actually anticipated this. In my discussions with her, she was saying, I believe that Bronte will try and front run it, and then the rest of us as a pack will have to just try and work together. And that's now what we're seeing with a pack of 4 sitting probably 10 metres behind Bronte Oates. So Bronte leading the way through. Ruby definitely a major part of that pack.
And even if you are a really strong runner, it's always going to be a bit of a risk running out in the front of the field by yourself. We saw it work for so many of the juniors at the start of the day today, but this is not under 11s, under 12s, under 13s. This is not junior running. And to have other people to work with and to build off and work together over a 10K cross-country course is an advantage. You are sort of putting yourself out there, being that single person ahead of the pack and being the one to set the pace with no one else around. So it is a risk. It'll be very interesting to see if Bronte Oates is able to pull this off.
Bronte Oates now approaching the main chicane area on the 2K loop, where picking line is vitally important. They'll be drifting from one side of the course to the other. And you're seeing just behind her, I think that might be Blundell in next position. Hansen's also up there with Smee. So that chase group, and Bronte hasn't got away at this point either, Michael. So yes, she charged forward, but that chase group, as Ruby alluded to, if they can work together, she's not going to get it all her own way. So now we're seeing them coming through to the concluding stage of that second 2K lap before they launch onto the 3K-er. And this is where we saw in the men's race, first time out there, that things started to happen and the fields really started to get pushed. But we are seeing here a bit of a challenge because Bronte Oates is not getting it all her own way out front. Yeah. And we're seeing that I think that could be Blundell, but we will confirm that as they're moving through the course.
And it's hard to know at this point as well without seeing super close-up footage of these athletes if it is the athletes just in second, third, fourth, pushing up to Bronte and putting a bit of a surge on to close that gap. Is Bronte getting a little bit tired from that surge that she's put on? Or is she sort of thinking, all right, I've gone a bit too hot early, let's just pump the brakes on, let the other girls come back to me, we'll sit for a bit, and then I'll charge a bit later on in the race. Definitely hard to know what everyone's sort of thinking and what tactics are going into play at this point. We do know that Bronte is still the one to catch out the front, and the three athletes behind are working together as a team as they come through 2 kilometres of this 10-kilometre journey, 1 lap down. And
she's not afraid of the 10K. She's run so well over the 14K at City of the Surf. She came 5th in the university games over 10,000 metre on the track.
So Georgia Hansen is one of those athletes in that second pack there that we can see. Ruby Smee as well. Just trying to get on and read on who that third person is in that second pack.
So we're pretty sure that's Blundell sitting in that chase pack alongside Smee and also Hansen. A little bit of a drop back then to Jayla HANCOCK-CAMERON from New South Wales. Puglisi, who was at the World Uni Cross Country, she's in next position. And she's got the Victorian champion not too far behind her, and that's Catherine Dowie. And Dowie is in quite a pack. So into the 3K circuit. So first time they'll be heading off into the equestrian centre. You can see Bronte now navigating through the mud. Breezed through that beautifully, and I think the gap is now starting to build.
Yeah, I'd
just
say
slightly.
I'd say it was around that 10-metre mark when we were trying to figure out what tactics were at play. Maybe only 500 metres ago, but it certainly does look like it's opening up a little bit. Still plenty of racing, a bit over 7 kilometres of racing to play out, but some pretty strong runners, well, in Smee and Hansen, who are in that pack, who are looking at the heels of Bronte Oates.
So Oates leading. Like Smee now into second position. Just a bit of a shout out too, we do have some internationals in this one as well. Monica Kalua from PNG, she is racing. Also from French Polynesia, Amandine Matira. She's a great triathlete. Also Kira Paz from Guam. And also Brooke Ross from Cook Islands, the Cook Islands triathlon champ. And Tanya Tan from the Northern Mariana Islands. She's an Oceania champ. She's got a 17:31 5K PB. So Tanya Tan's one not to be. She'll be right in that mid-pack somewhere, I'd say, Tanya. But talking about packs, we've got a group of 3. They are chasing, but I think we are seeing Bronte Oates establishing a bit more of a lead here.
And we
Blundell
see the track
just struggling a little bit, maybe at the rear end of that. As we said, Ruby Smee's got the strength, hasn't she? Georgia Hansen has the finesse. Georgia ran brilliantly in the 10K road race recently on her comeback race. Was only just pipped by Sarah Klein, who's off to the World Champs. to run the marathon. Then we can see more of the pack runners coming through there. But let's see how this plays out, because it is going to be quite interesting with that group of three and who's got the goods over the 3K circuit now that they're into the Equestrian Centre for the first time.
Yeah, and we mentioned this about Lockie Hurd, and it would be similar for Georgia Hansen, somebody who, towards the start of their senior career, would have been more that 800, 1500 sort of style runner, but has moved up in distance. Obviously, Georgia going on to win a national cross-country championship only a few years ago. Still has the wheels on her, but has sort of built that endurance as she's got older. So very much an athlete who can turn it on and is quite versatile. So she's in that pack. She's one running in the black and white Box Hill uniform for Victoria. So we're a bit over 3 kilometres down now in this race for our leaders, as they go through the log jumps and start to make their way towards, I was about to say towards the Equestrian Centre, but they have a turn off before that because we're not up to that loop yet, Tim.
Not quite. So up and over again for Bronte as she approaches the Equestrian Centre for the first time. So through the gate, and then she'll do that little left-hand turn, make her way through into the dressage centre.
So of course, 2 2K laps and then 2 3 kilometre laps. So athletes now half to 3/4 of the way through that second 2K lap.
No real change out front, as we're seeing Bronte Oates approaching the 4 kilometre mark now, and they will be entering into that first circuit, then into the Equestrian Centre. So 2x2, 2x3, once again the format here. So 13 minutes on the clock. No real change out front, Michael. I think we're well, actually, we are seeing a little bit of a move into second position. We'll try and cover who that might be.
So we are going through that transition point. The second of our 2K laps is just being completed by our leaders. If you're out on course or spectating,
so Georgia Hansen now closing that gap. So Hansen was sitting back early. Blundell sitting in third position. So Hansen making quite a move. Smee now in fourth. Fifth position, Jayla Hancock-CAMERON. So Kate Spencer, the New South Wales runner. Haven't mentioned her all day, but another fantastic runner from New South Wales. Then Puglisi, Saskia Lloyd, Brielle Urbacher, the Queenslander. She's in that top 10. So Hansen is starting to draw in. So So as they go through the 4 kilometre mark and approach the 5K, the halfway point, we are seeing Georgia Hansen starting to make a little bit of a move on Bronte Oates. It still looks impressive out front, but we are hearing from out on course that Hansen's just starting to bridge that gap.
And you know what? We're not even at the 5K mark of a 10K cross-country event, Tim. So plenty of running still to go. Oates is looking extremely strong out the front of the field though. Her technique looks solid. She doesn't look to be faltering. But Hansen has broke away from her running mates in Blundell and Smee. She's looking to take on this race and bridge the gap. She's not going to break away from the other two without trying to really put in a move and catch up to Oates. And I'd say if she does, she's going to make a move and go right past.
Now, interestingly, Hansen is the only former winner of this event taking part today, and she won at the very treacherous Oakbank course in South Australia, the mud pit that is Oakbank.
Yeah.
So she likes the heavy running, but also a really good 5K runner too. So she's got credential over the 5K, and as you said, over 10K against Sarah Klein not too long ago in her first race back after injury, and she was looking really good over that distance. So this could be quite interesting, but look, it still looks like a fairly good gap, and that for Bronte is not a bad thing as we approach that 5K mark, halfway point. It's good that she's got the lead, and Georgia does have to work that extra bit harder. As we said, there was a bit of a surge forward, but we're still seeing that the gap is quite reasonable.
As Bronte just does look over her shoulder to see where the rest of the field is at. She does still have that gap, but she is still checking as you would in this in a 10K cross-country race. She's put herself out in the lead from the very early stages that she goes over the log jumps. Now Georgia Hansen just coming up into that section. But Bronte Oates, she's put herself out there. And now the likes of Hansen and Blundell are saying, all right, only 5Ks to go. Now's the time to really, if I'm going to do it, it's got to be now. So the other runners coming through on screen now: Smee, Spencer, Puglisi, Lloyd, Urbacher. All very well credentialed athletes.
Top 4 looking big gap between Smee and the next, and I think as we go through the halfway point, or we're now beyond that, I'd say that there probably won't be too much change for that top 4. It's just a matter of the order.
So we mentioned Hansen making a move to try and catch up to Oates, but Blundell's almost getting back on the heels of Hansen here.
Yeah,
and that gap isn't really closing all that much between Hansen and Oates, I would say.
Yeah, well, if anything, I think Blundell is now starting to get back onto the heels of Hansen, which will probably help both of them if they try to work forward towards Bronte. But Bronte looking very controlled at the moment, and she does approach the equestrian centre for the first time. So onto the longer loop now. She goes up and over the mount, across the road, and she'll go through the gates into the equestrian centre. So been a fantastic year for Bronte Oates so far this year. Sort of rose to prominence a little bit, I think, at the Melbourne Marathon 10K last year. Came into the stadium there ahead of some pretty good runners, including Melissa Duncan, and was a bit of an unknown at that point in time. But obviously this year's gone on to newer heights, and she's got establishing some great PBs. Winning City of the Surf is also, it's just a major,
Huge,
flip up for anyone's
prestigious
career to win the biggest timed race in Australia. So it has been Bronte Oates' year, and can she crown that with an Australian National Cross Country Championship?
Yeah, be once again cap off a strong season. I mean, Aidan Valton coming second in the men's, although he didn't get a win, has capped off a really strong season, and this would be a similar thing for Bronte Oates. Winning would cap off a strong 12 months for her. And we see Blundell is now running right with Hansen, so they are going to try and help each other out, or maybe Jenny Blundell will just run straight past Georgia Hansen and keep progressing towards Bronte Oates. They're about 5.5 kilometres through this 10K event. They're basically at the very tip of the course, at the back end of the equestrian centre, just nearing that single mound that we've got on course. So yeah, Blundell does just edge her nose ahead of Hansen. Hansen just getting a bit of sit on Blundell's heels, but they are working together. They have been for the past few hundred metres as they work together to try their best to catch Bronte Oates. But what a run Bronte Oates is having. She's gone out from the very start, gone out hard, bridged the gap on the rest of the field, and she's holding it. She's got to do it for another almost 4 kilometres. But it's very, very impressive running so far.
Well, she did tell me she comes in fairly confidently into this event. Obviously, the lead-in races for her university 10,000 metres, then the city surf, gives her good grounding, and she does actually enjoy cross-country as well. Moving well and smoothly across the ground. I think this faster course probably suits her, but then again, she did win the state champs down at Willandra, which is a tough course. So she can do it either way, I think, Bronte Oates. You can just see her form getting up and over the mound there, and then she'll float down across the other side. Blundell and Hansen are about to approach the up there, and up and over they go. You can see the arms there working for Jenny Blundell. Good hill running technique and form for her. Georgia just easing back a little bit on that downhill as we see Jenny just getting another couple of metres on her coming off the lip. So really important that they keep thinking what they're doing with each component part of this course and not just drift away. So Georgia will now have to work a little bit harder just to get back onto the back of Jenny. Not saying she can't do it, but that was a good move by Blundell to use those arms to get up and over the hill and then force it over the lip and over the top. But we're seeing Bronte Oates just doing her own thing out front at the moment. Blundell now out by about 1 metre, 1 to 2 metres over Hansen. Haven't seen Ruby Smee of late, but she was sitting comfortably in that 4th position. But as we know, 4th's not a very happy position for anybody. One off the podium. But Ruby Smee, tough competitor, and she will have a good last lap in her, I know for sure. She has been running well. She is very strong. She's got good credentials over the 5K, 10K, and as we saw, ran a fairly decent race in City to Surf. She wasn't totally happy with her performance there, but Ruby is running very, very well this season.
We can see all 3 of those athletes on the screen right now, and that gap isn't getting any wider, and it isn't shortening either.
It's what I call a comfortable gap for Bronte. She knows that in order for them to make that up, she has to either fall apart totally or they've got to do a massive surge. Now, I know Blundell does have the 1,500 metre form, but it's a bit different here trying to produce that speed at the end of 10 kilometres. So Blundell's just got to keep carving away, and then all they've got to hope for now, Georgia and Jenny, is that Bronte starts to ease back. But I can't see that happening at this point in time. Jenny just has a little look around the shoulder. Just see Georgia's still there, so she's just keeping that 1 metre distance. So Georgia, will she try and make another move? Look, they're running 2nd and 3rd here. Will they really be going for it to get, do the change of position? Let's see. I think that would pan out over the last lap. It wouldn't happen soon.
Yeah, and they're just coming into that final lap now. A little bit over 3 kilometres to go for our leaders. Bronte Oates running so strong at the head of this field. Looking extremely comfortable in that position out the front of the field by herself, just like she did in the City to Surf run. She won by quite a margin up in Sydney only a couple of weeks ago. So as passing the spectators, collecting a round of applause. 1 lap to go, 3 kilometres, one last 3 kilometre loop for Bronte Oates and for the rest of the field. 3 kilometres to go.
So 3K out now, Bronte Oates. I think the lead is now starting to extend. I think she's going to go into this as a bit of a glory lap now for Bronte, because the other 2 working together, but they have got quite a bit of territory to make up in order to go up to and then in front of Bronte Oates. So less than 3 kilometres now to go for the New South Welsh woman in Bronte Oates. As we're saying, exemplary season she's had through 2024 into 2025. 5th at the university games in the 10,000 metres on the track, and a sensational time there as well. So this young lady really seeing the breakthrough in this season and crowning that potentially now today with an Australian Cross Country Championship here in Ballarat. So a big, big year for Bronte Oates. Great management team behind her as well. She's really well looked after, and let's see if she can just keep going on and on in Australian distance running ranks here, because she's certainly looking to be one to watch out for in the future, as we see such a great era coming through for us at the moment, isn't it, Mike? When you look at the likes of Jess Hull and Lyndon Hall once again last night running another PB, and it's just amazing to see what the girls are doing out there. Abby Caldwell and also Claudia Hollingsworth. It's we're in a golden period. We still talk about the 1950s, but the 2020s are turning into being a fantastic period for Australian athletics. And Bronte Oates, she's putting a name right up there amongst them, because I think we're now seeing what is a real break here, and I think she's going to go on and record a very, very strong victory.
Yeah, we had Leanne Pompiani winning by 16 seconds last year. It's going to be a similar thing today by the looks of it. Quite a margin that we have for Bronte Oates. And as you said, Tim, unless she falls apart, which she absolutely does not look like doing, she's going to win by a pretty considerable margin here at the Australian Cross Country Championships. We've still got 11 races on the program after this one's, Tim. So the Masters men and women, 30 years plus events across all the age categories, is going to be the next one on the program at 1:55, starting in about 10 minutes just after the Open Women's finish, followed by our men's and women's under 15s, 16s, 17s, 18s and 20s in that order. So still a lot of racing to go here at Victoria Park in Ballarat.
And once again, big thank you to the City of Ballarat for the support they provided the Australian Athletics Cross Country Championship in 2025 and beyond. Course set up, always an important part. The support the city have given, and financially and also physically, it's been sensational, and that's why we've been able to produce so far what's been a really, really good national championships here in Ballarat.
So we see our leaders just zigzagging through the logs, not opting for the hurdle method. They are zigzagging through, pinballing through the chicanes. And what will be interesting, actually, in these closing stages will be this little battle for second and third between Blundell and Hansen. Although it does look like Blundell has bridged a little bit of a gap now of about 5 metres on Hansen. Will be a bit more of a battle for the silver medal than it is for the gold at this stage.
We're just seeing Blundell go through the real messy part there. That's the one they're complaining about now, Michael, and through successive races that's going to get even muddier. They're all trying to pick their line through there. But Jenny, I think, is now starting to stretch that lead over Georgia into that second position. As we see Bronte now clearing through, and she'll be heading back into the equestrian centres shortly to complete. She's probably about 2 and a bit K out now, I would say. So 28 minutes on the clock.
So it's great to see so many spectators on course, Tim. It's as you mentioned earlier, it's a course that is pretty spectator friendly and accessible, being 2K and 3K loops. You're never too far away from the action, so it is great to see, not just around the start finish line area, people lining the course, but it is really good to see out around the equestrian area, out around the mud traps. People everywhere just sneaking a glance of the runners around course and providing their support.
Probably gets a little bit lonely out in the equestrian centre. There's a bit of a trek out there, yeah. But as you can see, there's not many people there around Bronte at the moment. But just having that scattering of people there, giving you a bit of a cheer and a bit of praise for the effort you're putting in, as we see Bronte now just coming through into the dressage area again for the last time. So 29 minutes on the clock. Can't see her being run down from here at any, so she's not showing any signs of weakness. That form's been the same from the starting gun right through to now. So you're just seeing that beautiful tempo, that rhythm, that cadence as she's going, working the terrain when she needs to, but otherwise just being in that beautiful float mode where she's just moving beautifully across the ground. So a harder surface here, and we're seeing that come through, that, you know, that speed is really being generated.
Yeah, and this was the moment in our men's race that Zach Faccioni passed Aidan Valton and made his move and bridged his gap. We can't say the same thing for this race, as the gap was already pretty decent from Bronte Oates, although as we have looked back on our second screen here in the commentary box, we can see Jenny Blundell is now about 40 to 50 metres ahead of Georgia Hansen. So she's well and truly pushed her way to try and put second place out of reach for Georgia Hansen. So Oates, Blundell, Hansen, quite a gap between the three of them at this point. And Hansen, once again, we said we haven't seen Ruby Smee on our camera for a while, so Georgia Hansen might have that third position pretty well sewn up. 1.5 Ks to go for our leaders.
So literally on the home stretch now. She's coming out on the straight part, coming out of the equestrian centre. She's got the mound to do one more time. As we saw on the first effort, she was up and over quite easily. So just twisting and weaving a little bit here before she rounds the bend, goes up and over the mound, and then she really does have to just launch for the home straight here in Victoria Park. So up and over she goes. As we can see, just good running form once again from Bronte Oates. Not going to slow her. She's just under the city to serve. A little man like that's not going to worry her after Heartbreak Hill. So floating down the other side is Bronte Oates, and she will now be well within vision very shortly of the finish here in Victoria Park. So that'll be an adrenaline surge for her. That'll get her going again. We see Blundell, once again, love her form up the hills, really digs in, leans forward, gets the arms pumping. That generates that pace to get up and over the hill. And Blundell coming off the top of that hill and really launching forward, and it looks like she's safely now in that silver medal position here. Jenny Blundell, dual Olympian, 2016, 2020, I think she was at the Olympics, and great to have her here in cross country. It just shows you the value of cross country to a track runner as well. That this is about strength. This is their off season. This is where they're really developing their strength to go through to another track season, and hopefully we'll see Jenny once again gracing our tracks over the domestic season in Australia.
Yeah, you see, people say the World Cross Country Championship is one of the hardest races to win because it is the meeting of your track runners, of your 1500, 5K, 10K guys. You throw some marathoners into the mix. Of course, we've got Sydney Marathon, our first world marathon major in Australia, next weekend. So this particular cross-country championships today does miss a few of our country's best marathoners out on course, but we do get a real mix of runners who have different strengths. Our premier track runners, our marathoners, and our out-and-out cross-country specialists.
Bronte Oates now approaching our finish area, not too far away now. Let's get the finish line crowded to acknowledge our champion here for 2025. So Bronte Oates.
So 500 to 600 metres to go for Bronte Oates. If you're not lining the finishing chute right now, get yourself over there. Give her a big round of applause. She is going to take it out from gun to tape. It's been a gutsy run. She's put it all on the line. She deserves a big round of applause as she comes through towards the finish line. It's about 400 metres to go for Bronte Oates.
So Bronte Oates looking to take out the Open Championship, also the Under Free Championship of Australia as well. So Bronte Oates not too far away now. So let's get the excitement levels up on our finish line as Bronte Oates approaches it. And she will be the 64th winner of the Australian Open Cross Country Championship for women. Bronte Oates, New South Wales. She will be crowned champion here today at Ballarat. What a superb performance. And Michael, hats off to Bronte Oates.
Absolutely, such a good run. Very, very hard to do, to make that call, to take it out early, to say, this is my tactic, I'm going to put it out on the line. It's going to hurt, but you know what? I'm going to collect an Australian Championship. Congratulations, Bronte Oates, Australian cross-country champion 2025.
So fantastic running once again. Bronte Oates, what a year she's had, as we keep saying. City of the Surf winner, 5th in the 10,000 metres at the Thaisu Championships this year. As we see Jenny Blundell coming through, she's a happy girl from 1500 at the Olympics to the Ballarat cross country here. 1-2 for New South Wales. Looks like they'll be odds on to take that team title, as I suggested. It's Jenny Blundell, one very happy girl after running a sensational cross-country performance here. And Georgia Hansen, she'll be next one through. Ruby Smee not too far behind her, but Smee will have to settle for 4th because Georgia Hansen will take the bronze medal here today in the Australian Championships over 10,000 metres of cross country, and Georgia is one very tired young lady. Ruby Smee not too far behind her though, the Tasmanian, very well respected athlete across Australia, and Ruby Smee, she comes through to take 4th position.